Discovering the Spiritual and Scientific Universe, the Universal Learning Series. I'm your host, Sandy Andrew. Welcome. Joining us today will be Stacey Hall. She is the author of the brand new book, Chi to Be. Having reached a point of physical, emotional, and mental depletion in 2005, Stacey Hall declared, "I want to learn how to heal my heart and then help others to heal their hearts." Those words launched a 6-year journey of self-discovery. Today, having brought herself back from a life-threatening illness, Stacey understands all too well the toll that dealing with financial and emotional stress takes in depleting one's strength and sense of personal power. Stacey Hall is the founder and catalyst for the Chi to Be worldwide movement, a movement of self-empowerment, self-intention, and self-achievement based on her newly released book, Chi to Be. Please visit Stacey's website at chi2be.com. Links on the main page of the Universal Learning Series website. Hello, Stacey. Thanks for joining us here this evening.
I'm really delighted to be your guest today, Sandy. Thank you so much.
Stacey, please do the audience and myself a huge favor and pronounce your book properly, as I said it 3 different times during the introduction.
Well, I think they're all appropriate ways of pronouncing it. To get the rhyme out of it, though, it would be Chi to Be, which is, so Chi as in energy, life force energy. People often hear about Chi when they know about Tai Chi, the movement form from martial arts, or in Feng Shui, sometimes it's spelled Chi, sometimes it's spelled Qi, as in the Chinese way. But that's what Chi is all about, is the energy that lives within every living matter, and how to harness it from within ourselves and from outside of ourselves so that we can use it in beneficial and empowering ways.
Okay, Chi to Be. I wasn't too far off, but wasn't right neither. Anyway. Okay, Stacey, before we talk about your book and your work, what exactly happened in 2005 that propelled you in this direction?
Well, as I explain in the book, Sandy, so in great detail, I'll go here very briefly. What happened in 2005 was a culmination of a variety of things that I call the perfect storm. Mm-hmm. I had published in 2001 my first book. It was extremely successful, called Attracting Perfect Customers, The Power of Strategic Synchronicity. And before there was a secret, there was our book. And we didn't make it a secret. My co-author and I, we put it all out there, how to specifically tap into the law of attraction to bring to you whatever relationship you desire to have in your life with velocity and ease as quickly as possible. And it resonated with many people very quickly, and we were asked to be on platforms with hundreds and thousands of people. We reaching all across the globe. The book was translated into 5 languages. There was a lot of success around it. And I thought I was prepared for success. But physically, I was not. I was not eating well. I was not taking care of my rest. I was not taking nutritional supplements. I was burning, as my husband likes to say, and he still reminds me when he starts to feel like I might be getting close to that again, that I was burning the candle on both ends. And that in and of itself was going to take a toll on me over the course of time. But then I had a few emotional hits occur as well. My father passed away very suddenly in the fall of 2004. My business partner and I realized we were going off in different directions, and so a business that I thought was going to last for eons was coming to an end at the exact same time. And those two emotional upsets were the straw that broke the camel's back. And so, because I didn't have the physical wherewithal to deal with as much work as I was dealing with, plus deal with the grieving of two losses at the same time. And I wound up in bed, is what happened in 2005. My husband and I decided to move from Houston to Las Vegas very suddenly to help my mother out after my father passed. All the doors opened for us to do that, so we did. And when I got here, I didn't have my business. I had decided to relinquish my shares because I just didn't have the energy to continue on with the business. I left it to my business partner. And my husband was a realtor in Houston. He had his license in Vegas, and so he was off and doing his work. And that left me. We don't have human children. We have furry kinds. And I finally had the time to heal. And it took me 2 years. I was in bed for 2 years, and I didn't know that I was healing at the time. That's the truth of it. I really thought I was breaking down, and every aspect of me, physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, not spiritually, but every other way, I felt like a broken person. And what happened was finally I'd had enough, and rather than waiting for something to get better, I started praying and asking for something to get better. And as you said in the introduction, I asked for my heart to be healed. And I said, it was like I made an agreement with the powers that be, God. I said, you showed me what I'm supposed to do from here. Get me out of this situation and back to being a productive part of society. I will pay attention to the tools you put in my path that will really work, and then I will go and tell other people. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm in that stage of now telling other people what worked.
Good. So would you consider yourself healed?
I would consider myself well on the way.
Well on the way. Good enough.
Well on the way. I'm still learning, still practicing, still mastering what I've learned myself. Definitely way beyond where I was. And I have the tools. So now if I do start to feel like I'm getting into old patterns, I can catch myself quickly and stop it and put in what I know will regenerate my energy. And I am happy. My heart is definitely healed. That I can tell you. The heart itself is healed. No resentments, no angers, no grieving, free and clear, great relationships with others. That's been healed for quite a while. The rest of it, in terms of building up my strength, returning my health fully to 100%, probably about 80% of the way there.
Okay. Let's talk about these chi energies. I did not know what chi energies was until your work came out, and I'm sure some of the audience have never heard of it neither. So let's talk a little bit about chi energies before we talk about your book. What's the history of these things?
Well, I actually gave the term energy surges to the tips in the book to go along with the concept of chi. So chi is, in and of itself, energy. That's exactly what it is. It is energy. And it is the energy of the universe. So folks who are used to working with, again, Tai Chi or Aikido or any of the martial arts are familiar with the ability to move chi, displace chi. People who work with feng shui or have ever had their homes feng shui know that that's what a feng shui expert is doing. They're creating a way of chi energy to flow and to ensure that it doesn't get blocked. But oftentimes people don't realize that when they feel drained or when they feel depressed or when they feel exhausted, what they're saying is their chi has been depleted or blocked in the same way that it can occur in a home. So there have to be ways for us to unblock that chi. Some of it is dealing with getting rid of emotional blockages, ways of thinking, ways of doing, upsets that we're holding on to. That's one way. Right. Sometimes it really is getting our homes feng shuied, or at the minimum, clearing out the clutter that piles up, that when we look at it makes us feel exhausted. Sometimes it's clearing out our minds, especially people who are not planning their goals. Or they have so many goals and they keep them all in their head because they don't know what to do with them, and it clogs up their creative thinking to the point where they're just exhausted all the time because they've got all these thoughts that are clogging the mind. So the energy surges, and I say there's 11 of them in the book, and there's also an accompanying audio series, a coaching series that goes along with the book. I offer 11 major energy surges, and then there's a mastery audio series where I offer another 12 that are kind of add-ons to the first 11. So the 11 are foundational, and they begin with what I call scheduling for success. And the only way somebody can schedule for success is to first know what success looks like for you. And one of the ways, Sandy, that I help my clients to arrive at that answer is I ask them to imagine that they're laying in bed and they're about to take their last breath, and they have all of their loved ones around them, the people that lift their energy, not the others, and to think about looking back over their life. So as if they were looking back over their life from the time when it ends, and telling me what they see that they were the most happy about. The one or two accomplishments that occurred over their life that filled them with the most pride. And when people do that, when they are able to look back over their life, they see what they're meant to accomplish. It's, from my experience, it's much easier to see it from that perspective, looking backward, than it is from standing here today looking forward, because most people allow their blockages to get in the way of looking into their future. But when they're already standing in their future and they look backwards, it's very easy to know what their be-all, as in their be-all, end-all goal, is intended to be in this lifetime. So that's how I get people started. And then it's all about how to ensure that your life moves you forward towards the fulfillment of that be-all, and every goal that has to be achieved before that in harmony. So I tell people there's no such thing as balance. I believe tables can be balanced and chairs can be balanced, and I don't believe our lives have the ability to be balanced, because in nature there is no balance. There's symmetry, there's harmony, but there's no balance in nature. Seasons change, right? Seasons change. Things go through cycles. Things grow in a cycle. They don't grow balanced. A bush isn't, as it grows up out of the ground, it doesn't grow up in a square, all four sides equal. It has its natural way of growth. And if we were to recognize that that's the way our lives grow as well, and our goals grow, and our businesses grow, and our relationships grow, I think people would allow themselves the luxury, if you will, or the relief of stopping attempting to arrive at balance and start enjoying the harmony that is their life.
That is really interesting, Stacey. To imagine yourself on your deathbed and looking back and and seeing the phase in your life or the thing you did that brought you the most pride or satisfaction, call it what you want. I have never heard of that approach. And when you were describing it there, I ran a scenario through my head. It's pretty satisfying. It's actually pretty clear, to me anyway. What's been the response of your clients when you've been teaching them this method?
I'm thrilled to say that that exact experience of letting go of the balance and starting to look at the harmony. So the energy surge number 3 in the book is tending to your be-all garden. So my clients tend to come to me, they're in a state of overwhelm. They have goals. They feel, I'm going to say dejected often.
Right.
They feel like failures. They're making themselves feel like failures because they haven't been able to truly move as fast as they would like towards those goals. They feel like life is conspiring against them. Things get in the way. And I introduced them to this concept of tending your be-all garden and seeing everything in your life as having a plot in your backyard garden. When we think about planting a garden, there's all different parts to the garden. We may have rose bushes, and we may have daffodils, and we may have trees, and we may have herbs, and we may have a pool, and we may have a dog run. Now, we don't expect the garden to be quote-unquote balanced, right? It's all got its different parts. We expect it to all live in harmony, to be pleasing to the eye. So this is what I introduce my clients to right at the beginning. And I literally hear them breathe a sigh of relief and tell me that for the first time they really can see how beautiful their life is. And then I introduce them to the concept of seeding, sprouting, blooming, and planting, which is, okay, you've got all these goals. If you've got children, you've got goals for your children. If you've got a business, you've got goals for your business. If you have a nonprofit foundation, you've got goals for your nonprofit foundation. If you intend to do a lot of traveling, you've got goals for your travel. It goes on and on. Well, each of those goals is going to be in a different stage of growth. So just determine, is it seeding? Are you seeding that goal right now? Are you putting the seeds into the ground and nurturing them without a whole lot of visual confirmation that they're there, except for the fact that you know you put the seeds in the ground? Are your goals starting to sprout? Are you starting to see some signs that those seeds are beginning to grow? Is your goal blooming? Is it in full bloom right now? Or is it resting? And a concept of resting would be a parent who has goals for their children till they're grown, and now the children are grown and they're out of the house. And that goal can be in the rest stage. Now, that goal got completed, doesn't require a whole lot of attention on it anymore. Looking at our lives from that point of view, we'd understand why some goals for this period of time need more attention and other goals need less attention. We'd also start to, when we plan our businesses, we'd start to think about, wow, if I'm going to be seeding a business, I could be doing it for a long time before I ever see a sprout come up. I think more people would put more thought into a business if that was the case, or even having children, or if they really thought about marriage being, or having a partnership the way they really want that partnership, they might spend a little more time in the process of attracting that. So this is what my clients tell me, is that once they adopt this concept of moving things in their own natural time, life becomes much more fun, much more joyous, and they begin to see that the universe is not conspiring against us. It's actually doing everything it can to inspire us forward.
You know, Stacey, you're. I'm getting back to one of the first things you teach your clients here is to look back on their life and what would be the thing that brings them the most satisfaction and pride. I mean, that to me is groundbreaking work because I have never heard of that before. Have you? Have you?
I can say that yes. I think that I've read it in other books as well. I can't say that it was new to me specifically. Right. I can't tell you specifically where I got it. I'll just say, because I really don't remember. It was just one of the tools, if you will, that somebody along the way asked me to consider at one time a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And it came back to me in the process. Now, long before I wrote the book, so I've been feeling very good for the last 4 years. As I started to come back, and I can tell you there's certain things that made a difference right away. One is I was, even before I got ill, I was a NIA technique instructor, NIA, which is a movement form that combines martial arts, the dance arts, and yoga all together. It's kind of like Zumba and yoga on steroids. It's wonderful. That helped me regenerate my energy. And also Young Living Pure Essential Oils. And I'm just going to put in the plug because I think they're the best oils on the earth because I had used many other oils. They didn't do a darn thing for me. But when I started using Young Living oils, my energy came back very quickly. Now, I tell you that because, now remember, I give up my first business. I'm just now coming out of bed. I'm able to teach NIA classes, and I'm doing them because they regenerate my own energy. If anybody else got anything out of it, that was like a bonus. And I'm introduced to the essential oils by one of my NIA students. So that said, I love the oils so much, I think to myself, okay, I'm going to represent the company. So I start representing the company and sharing the oils, and this becomes what I think is going to be my new business. Well, as I'm sharing the oils, other people want to learn about the oils. They're loving them. They get into the business, and they want to be trained in how to attract clients like I'm doing it. Well, lo and behold, now I'm back to coaching people. And so in the early days, when I would ask them, okay, well, what's your reason? I have a big goal. I have a big be-all for why I'm sharing the oils, and it has very little to do with money. It has everything to do with teaching people how to give themselves wellness easily, because that's what it was for me. If for you to attract people that want to be served by you, you've got to have a reason and a goal as well. And I would find that most people would say to me, oh, I'm still working on that. I'm still working on a purpose. And I have to tell you, I cringe when I hear people saying they're working on their purpose. Because purpose, having a purpose is meant to be a joyful experience. And what I know is that somewhere along the way, they probably did have that big goal, but somebody told them it was either too lofty, or it was too ridiculous, or they would never do it, or they didn't have enough faith in themselves. And so the purpose is there, but they're working hard to come up with another one that they think is more acceptable. And so in my experience of coaching over the last few years, somewhere along the way, I was reminded of how easy it is to get back to our purpose, our be-all, by looking at it when it's completed at the end rather than at the beginning.
So where I was going with this, Stacey, was I'm sure you get a lot of clients who come to you and they realize that they've been working on we'll call it goals or dreams, that really they don't want. Their fantasies or the delusions, or indeed their goals and dreams that have had their time and their place, and now their journey is on to something else, and they just don't realize it. Maybe some people are hanging on to dreams that have gone. And by performing your look back scenario, we'll call it. I don't like the deathbed scenario. We'll call it the look back scenario.
Okay.
They can see things maybe a little bit clearer. certainly my take on it, put it that way.
Well, I appreciate it, and I thank you for the feedback and for the confirmation of it. And goal setting, I think probably where I got that was there's lots of people who have written about how to set goals, and I think that's a pretty good technique for any goal, is to look at the end when it's been completed and then work your way backwards to the beginning step by step by step by going backwards and feeling that sense of accomplishment along the way.
Now, what's going on with your movement? Do you have meetings? Are they online, or do you have gatherings, or what's your movement like at this stage?
I really appreciate that question.
Has it just started, or where are you?
Okay, well, we're virtual, we're live, we're touching, feeling people. Now, the Chi to Be movement grew as a grassroots movement directly out of the book. In Chapter 11, I talk about personal accountability, and that's the last of the energy searches. That's energy search number 11, and I deliberately put it at the end because if I had put it at the beginning, people would have read that and most likely shut the book and never looked at it again, because I always say accountability is a dirty word in our language because accountability usually comes right along with a whole bunch of shoulds. But in Chi to Be, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what do I want to be able to count on myself for. I don't care, Sandy, what you want to count on me for. I only want to be up to what I want to be counted on for. Now, out of that, if you make a request of me, I can choose to respond to that request based on my accountability. So out of my accountability, I want to be counted on to share the Chi to Be message with as many people as possible. You asked me to be a guest on your show. It made complete sense for me to say yes to you, but not out of a should, not out of I oughta, not out of an obligation, but out of my own accountability and the joy that I can count on myself to show up and be your guest. That's why I did it. And being responsible to be here on time, it's demonstrating to you my ability to be able to respond to your request.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's one thing for me to do that all by myself all the time. It's another, more fun experience to have at least one other person, if not a whole group of people, who are actively looking at accountability and responsibility with each other the same way. And I call that a group of personal accountability partners. And what's happened is people are starting to gather all around the world, privately and publicly, in what are known as Chi to Be circles of personal accountability partnership. So we've got a circle in Minnesota. We've got a circle in Missouri. I mean, the book's only been out a little while here, and so these are already popping up. We've got circles now starting in Australia. I've got folks in Europe who are doing this. We've got folks here in Las Vegas, in California, and every day there's another person who feels like they want to declare themselves a Chi to Be movement leader, that they're actively going to invite their friends or their clients to join them in participating in Chi to Be circles. So we meet on the whole group of people who love Chi to Be are meeting first on our fan page on Facebook or our group page on LinkedIn. And then we've got a group of people where we share support, announcements, celebrations. So we have a Facebook group as well. And then off of that Facebook group, these circles are starting to create their own groups. So they can just communicate with themselves and post announcements when their face-to-face meetings are or their virtual online meetings are. And if people want to know more about the Chi to Be circles, they can go to our website at www.chi-2-be.com.
Wow. So you do have a movement then.
We definitely do. It's moving.
Do you have any plans to write another book?
I think what's going to happen is that Chi to Be is going to have additional editions, because the more that I coach, the more I see information coming through me or that's coming together with another person that just expands upon what's already in the book. It's amazing to me. I just really feel like I was guided to write the basics. I mean, that's the foundation of everything. There has been nothing that a client has brought to me, Sandy, that at least one of the Chi to Be or energy surges does not directly address.
Wow.
And so I can't imagine at this point what I would write that would be so dramatically new, but I definitely am starting to keep notes of things I would add to the next edition.
It'll come. Trust me. It'll come. And remember this date in 2011 that I said that live on air. It'll come. The universe is a big place, and energy is a big thing, and something will come. You watch. You'll be writing a second book sooner than you realize.
Well, I'm not going to be surprised by that, and from your mouth to God's ears for sure, because I've had other people who are psychic, and very intuitive tell me the same thing. And again, it has to come through me in the most natural of ways, like this one did. I'm not setting out to write a second book. When it starts to show itself, I'll be right there listening and taking the guidance and allowing myself to be a tool to let the information come through.
That's right. And there's only one person in the world who knows the answer to when you'll write another book, and that's you and you alone. When you will write the other book. So, cool. Super. All right. Well, what would you like to leave the audience here today? Sounds like you've got a lot more in your book than what we talked about here. But, boy, 11 energy surges? Sounds a lot to me, huh? How many
they're very simple.
Okay.
Listen, go ahead. I cut you off. I didn't mean to do that.
No, that's all right. You're still here. You haven't gone anywhere, Stacey. No problem. No, I said, what would you like to leave the audience with here? I said you got 11 energy surges. I was going to say, why don't you talk about one that we haven't touched on?
I'm going to tell you about one that most people don't expect, and it is extremely important. And if I've learned anything along the way, it's that this one absolutely cannot be last. Not necessarily the first, and it's definitely got to take place every day. And it's called taking a rest stop, which is different from a goal being at rest. Oftentimes, people who are intent on achieving a goal keep going and 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 going until the goal is achieved. The funny part, though, is if we keep doing it like that, the goals always seem to get further and further away. So I say we've got to take a clue from music. And as I wrote, I do a weekly chi lift, by the way. I do write more every week. Some of this new information that's coming through me has to have an outlet right now. So on my website, I give people an opportunity to subscribe to my weekly chi lift at no charge so that they can get a lift every Monday to their week. So going back, this week's chi lift is right about what I'm about to say here. If our lives sound more and look more like a small child banging on pots and pans continuously, all that's going to do is give us and other people a headache. But if we can construct our daily life to have activity and then quiet, activity and quiet, activity, activity, quiet, 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 activity, 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 it starts to sound more like a melody, a symphony. And so taking maybe 2 minutes, maybe a half hour, sometimes maybe 3 days, every once in a while, maybe a month, to take our attention off of our goals. Well, let me put it this way. Take our tangible activities and turn them to something else while keeping our energetic minds, our spiritual minds, if you will, still focused on the ultimate goal, but allowing ourselves to do something completely different, even if it means doing nothing. And sleep is a rest stop, that's true, but in order to have the most restful sleep, we must take more time during the day to treat ourselves, to get quiet. And so that's what I'd like to leave everybody with is if you wait till the end of the week for your rest stops, you're cheating yourself on every level. So put them in every day.
Pretty sound advice. You have been listening to Stacey Hall. She is the author of Chi to Be, Achieving Your Ultimate Be-All. Please visit Stacey's website at chi-2-be.com. Link is on the main page of the Universal Learning Series website and will be on the 2011 archive show page as well. Stacey, thank you for coming on to the show here tonight and talking about your book and your work. It's been fun.
Thank you for me as well.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Universal Learning Series radio show, where we discover the spiritual and scientific universe.